Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. It's a matter of great pride and honor for me to be blessed with an opportunity to address such a wide galaxy of eminent geoint experts and enthusiasts. As I deliver my talk today on geographic information systems as a force multiplier for special forces, I would like to be combining some of my past experiences in handling a variety of GIS tools, both as a fighter pilot and as an image analyst, which I find have a definite relevance in the exploitation of GIS by special forces. However, these views will be my personal views and in no way are a reflection of the government or the Air Force stated policy on the subject. While I shall always be a fighter pilot at heart, I don't intend to bombard you with brain-busting GIS jargon, especially before the lunch. So we'll start straight away with the presentation. I shall be introducing the topic by taking two hypothetical examples, and thereafter we'll talk about the GIS as a force integrator. We'll talk about the challenges and the way ahead. Let's start with a story to make things interesting just before lunch. We have two nations, A land and B land, who are at constant conflict for a long time. B has been indulging in a lot of terrorist activities in A land to further its interests. Recently, they have sponsored a non-state actor terrorist strike in a city called Maninagar, which has resulted in tremendous amount of destruction, both in terms of property as well as human lives. And there's a major hostage situation underway. There's a lot of public anger against the way the government has handled the situation, and the government is under a lot of pressure to act. We'll now discuss two issues, or rather two scenarios in which the situation has been handled. In the first case, we'll discuss a non-GIS based hurried approach. In this scenario, we have a situation where, in spite of repeated terrorist attacks and such kind of related activities, the government has not learned its lesson and has not put into place a very integrated kind of a setup. There is no GIS based approach to handling intelligence as well as the conduct of military operations. Under public pressure, the government sanctions an operation wherein, because of with some electronic intercepts available, they get to know that the mastermind is hiding at a place called Romeo in Bravo land, and he has to be brought along with his entire gang back to India, or I'll stand corrected, Alpha land, for facing justice. The planning gets underway. First of all, there's a lot of intelligence, but it is old. It is lying in verticals with no lateral interaction, as a result of which it is unactionable intelligence. When people open the files, they find that 3 agencies have reported on the same subject, but the reports don't match. The planning gets underway. They ask for satellite images, but the weather is bad, clouding, monsoon season, they can't get the latest satellite image. The SAR image gives some information but doesn't cut the mustard, what is required. So finally, people get down to the basic maps. When at the lower level, where at the special forces level, people are still working on paper maps. At a slightly higher level, at the command level, people are using digital maps on a PowerPoint and making the situation. After the Alpha Land Army gets the situation right, they share this information with the Air Force, who take pride in using their mission planning systems, which is based on GIS. But unfortunately, they don't have the data of that area in the way it is supposed to be exploited. Because of paucity of time, the information is passed in terms of, for the coordinate information is passed on the telephone. Here, an error takes place in noting down the coordinates of one location. It happens to be a DZ. Anyway, the process moves forward and the operations get underway. Please focus your attention to the screen, sir. Here, we have a situation wherein the special forces are following the yellow track and moving at two locations which are marked by a blue cross and a green cross as shown. These are the designated points for landing the troops for the special operations as per the Army's understanding. However, the Air Force understands that the second DZ for the Green Force is located at this location. The forces get dropped. While the red team reaches its intended destination and it is supposed to attack Romeo from the right side, the other forces unfortunately have landed in an area which is indicated by the dotted line. They are totally confused about the issue. Anyway, they continue. As they move forward, they reach Point Jumbo, where is another terrorist camp which is not known to this force. Chaos reigns. Team Green gets annihilated. Whereas Team Romeo, rather stand corrected, Team Blue reaches Point Romeo, indulges in a firefight, the operation gets botched up. Because of the extended firefight, they've run into evening hours, clouds have come over, the extrication which was supposed to be planned at this location could not take place. As a result of which, the casualties that could have been saved cannot be saved, only a few get back. This was a typical case wherein a detailed analysis could have saved the situation as well as achieve the objective. Now we have a second situation where the country learnt its lesson about 10 years back. They put in place a very sophisticated intelligence collection processing network. They invested in the best of the GIS based systems, as a result of which they are in a state of information superiority. The moment this action is taken place, the guys all start working on the subject immediately because they are anticipating that some kind of a response would be required. Towards this, they get all the factors on board, consider all aspects that govern the entire spectrum of operations, and prepare the intelligence to develop a common picture. Thereafter, they get into the planning mode and choose the best suited plans, work out alternatives and contingency plans. As they are preparing, they use certain sophisticated tools which help them enhance their situational awareness as well as mission efficiency. The first, I'll just describe a few of them. They are service visibility analysis, wherein they are working out the visibility between A and B, wherein it is variable as well as fixed height. If you pay attention on the screen, the areas which are seen in green can be visualized. The areas which are in orange are above and not seen, and the areas that are shown in red are below but not seen. They work out various facets of operations wherein indirect firepower would be required in case the situation goes out of control. So they work out RT dead ground. They work out surface visibility analysis in case they have to use snipers. Seen on the left side is a top view which indicates that the blue area which is highlighted shows areas which are in plains and are visible to the sniper in a hilly terrain. The same location as seen with the side view shows the yellow areas which can be observed by the sniper on the slopes. They work out line of sight issues for places where they are likely to place their key snipers. There's a tunnel that exists as per old intelligence at this place. They also work out in case they have to cross the tunnel what all kind of factors would be required to be taken into consideration. They work out the location of possible drop zones and helipads. For example, areas which have slopes less than 5 degrees in the first slide, in the first window is shown on the extreme top left. The areas in white shows places which are less than 5 degrees. These are also the zones which are to be used by human beings so that they don't get tired. The areas of least resistance, areas more than 15 degrees. These are areas where it will be difficult for armor to come into play, just in case they have to come into being. Similarly, there are steep slopes which are more than 45 degrees, 50 degrees and 55 degrees, which have different military implications, which is well known to most of you. Information is that there are a lot of radars in the area, which will come into play in case the forces are to be inducted by the medium of air. So they carried out study of the terrain with respect to what impact it would have in case a radar is sighted in these areas. This is helpful for undertaking tactical routing, radar sighting and detecting the blind zones. Based on the study, they work out the best possible solution for tactical routing. They also undertake a terrain deconflict check, wherein they work out corridors as to where the aircrafts, when they go, they'll be the safest with respect to terrain and what kind of route safety height altitudes they need to maintain. Because this operation is going to be launched as a very massive scale, they want to have backup. So they want to use a full spectrum of airborne assets like the AWACS, the UAVs, fighters on standby in case the situation goes out of control. For that, they have to undertake collision checks. So they undertake in-flight collision checks. They find that at two places which are marked in red, there's a conflict. These issues are resolved. Because a real-time picture of the battle of the area where this action is going to take place is required. So they need to put UAVs. For this, a full payload footprint planning is undertaken. Flood analysis is carried out. The latest satellite image, the SAR image, is used for undertaking detection of targets using automatic target recognition software to cut down on the timelines. They find that there's some limited armor in the foothills and the plains located about 10 kilometers away, which are not likely to be brought into active support because of the terrain at the place of activity and where they're stored. A change detection analysis is carried out, and the areas where land use patterns have shown a change are studied in detail to build up a comprehensive picture. Having planned, they now get into the validation and rehearsal mode. The plans are refined by simulating various contingencies by all stakeholders, which includes the planners, the people who are actually going to go through, and the national leadership. After validation, after this, a validation is carried out. Once validated, they're disseminated to each of the stakeholders by a central agency. Having done this, they inform the national leadership that, sir, we are ready. At this stage, the leadership gives the final go. The scene shifts to the operations room, both at the tactical level, command level, as well as with the national leadership, who are monitoring the situation at various levels. You have the master plan displayed, you have the alternate plans displayed, you have a live feed from the UAVs which is coming in, and the comprehensive air picture is coming in. Due to limitations of screen, I'll be limiting myself to a video on the execution part. Here we see that the AWACS are moving in place and the fighters are undertaking a cap. In this area you can see the choppers moving in and dropping the special forces. As the operations are underway, every aspect of the battlefield is being conveyed and people are monitoring it. Now let's shift time and look at the extrication part for understanding part. Now we are into the extrication part. Here we realize hint has come that one of the choppers is having a problem, so it is unable to reach and pick up the guys. Alternate choppers are being sent. There is a time delay. At the same time, the intelligent mission planning systems are reporting that there is a change in weather, as a result of which that valleys got blocked where the RV was supposed to take place. The forces cannot RV at the designated point, so there is a change. They designate a new point, but the UAV gives an information that in that area, because of this terror action, manpads are seen, the terrorists are moving in with manpads, so that plan is out. With full power of the mission planning system, they still come out with an alternate solution. And how that was achieved, I'll just show you. The various kind of associated data was fed into the systems. They worked out the places where all their air defense assets were placed. They worked out the danger zones. They were plotted on the map. These red spheres indicate the danger zones and the effective area in which the air defense weapons could bring havoc. A study of that and the route was undertaken in real time, and the best possible route was selected and passed on to the team. With active intervention in real time, the situation was brought under control. There were casualties, but they were under control. The mission was a big success. The real-time battle damage assessment of the battlefield revealed that the boys had done a good job. They painted that, or they blasted that site black and blue before they came back and taught the enemy a good lesson. Once the party time was over, after return, they got down back to the drawing table and discussed their entire plans as to how they went about it and what they achieved. A thorough analysis was carried out, and thereafter it was put back into the archival so that these lessons could be used again for future. What did we achieve? We achieved a perfect functioning of the OODA loop in the shortest possible compressed time frame. We were able to integrate both the laterals as well as the verticals, inter-service issues, in a very seamless, coordinated manner. There were no issues of lack of clarity about each other's plans. All players, whether it was in the vertical or the horizontal, the man who was going to press the trigger, the people who were planning, the advanced headquarters, the national leadership, as well as people from either service were exactly know what was happening at what time and under what circumstances. So what happened? Was it achieved? It was achieved because all the players, whether it was the variables or the sensors, the platforms, the planners, the special forces or the national leadership, they were integrated together by X, Y, Z and T. That is the latitude, longitude, elevation and a common time constant on the chessboard of war. This is what the GIS achieved for them, which paper maps cannot. Let's take our mission analysis. Scenario 1, mission failed, 90% casualties, many instances of fratricide, adverse media coverage, poor effect on the national morale, heavy collateral damage. Scenario 2, mission accomplished, minimum casualties, nil fratricide, positive media coverage, great boost to the national morale and minimum collateral damage. Mission scenario 2 was a great success. Having studied, or rather having looked at some examples of how GIS improved the functionality, I have not gone into too much of details of covering the feature list because the list is endless. It's about how you exploit the system. It is left to your imagination. But what's most important is that we should know how to use this technology. Just by having a powerful GIS system on my table is not going to win me wars on, and it's not going to get converted into a force multiplier. What is required is a GIS based mission planning and decision management system. I'll take great pride if we can manufacture it one day indigenously. This system must be 3D from the word go. I should not have to shift to a 3D mode. The language has to be X, Y, Z, and T from the right go. It has to be tri-service so that there are no problems of integration. It should include all facets of law enforcement as well as paramilitary forces, because the way we are moving in to a new paradigm of Naxalism and terrorism, we have to integrate and pool up forces in case we have to be effective. And these tools have to be designed for Indian conditions. They have to, the mathematics of the system has to be correct. The geometrical rendering and the graphical rendering, there's a disconnect. For example, as per geometry, it is supposed to be following a circle, but as per the visualization, it is looking like an oblong. That doesn't cut the mustard. The shapes and the integrity of the shapes, the projections, the datums has to be very correct. Marking and deployments have to be as per Indian requirements. The systems have to become intelligent. Today, even iPhone, when you look at it, it brightens up. It's become intelligent. So your systems should get into predictive modeling and simulation with a great degree of predictive accuracy. I gave you an example that when the operations were underway, it was the various variables like weather, UAV inputs, multi-directional, multi-dimensional, multi-agency inputs are coming, and real-time monitoring is going on. The system should be able to predict correct solutions to you. We, being in India, have legacy equipment, absolute equipment, existing equipment, and equipment that we are going to buy. These systems should be so versatile and so designed that they are able to integrate all kind of platforms, sensors, and environment variables. The R&D has to be user-led and user-driven and not imposed. The file formats have to be small so that they can be transmitted over a small bandwidth. At the same time, they should cater for 3D modeling and animation, because that's the need of tomorrow, and they have to be interoperable. When you do evaluation, it has to have benchmarking. Performance has to rule over functionality. Functionalities are important, but performance is also important. It shouldn't happen that the moment I use two features, the system hangs and I have to shut it down.
Try and conclude, Satyam.
So, the way ahead is an integrated intelligence processing and a decimation system at a national level, which is talking at both laterals and the vertical, a centralized fusion system, a simple versatile GUI, especially for the special forces, because he doesn't have to waste his time getting overloaded with information. It has to be simple, which he can use on the battlefield. It has to be contextual. The flow has to avoid an information overload I just covered. And finally, what's most important is that you need committed, dedicated people who handle these systems. Piecemeal approach, tenure-based management won't help. And finally, if you look at GIS, it's a force multiplier. Why? Because the entire success of the operation depends on two people, the man who is giving the decision and the person who is pressing that trigger based on a decision that he is taking on that 1 second. In that aperture of that 1 second, he is basing that decision on the sum total of all the knowledge that he has gathered in his entire lifetime and the common operations picture that you fed into his mind before the operation. So in case with this GIS you are able to feed that and you achieve that trigger press, which ultimately leads to attainment of your objective, I think the GIS would have done its aim, and that is why it would be the force multipliers. Thank you, sir.